Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Now I've decided to do a Hanna Karlzon page. I've not done one. Did I do one last month? I don't even think I did one last month. So it seems like forever for me. But I'm working in seasons. Now this is not the English version, I can't remember what version this is, but it's got really good thick quality paper. Now I will say it's not watercolour paper. I've not prepped it with anything because I've literally just picked the page out. So I thought I would start it on camera. I might be able to finish the whole lot. Pencil sharpenings. If you don't do art and you've not got pencil sharpenings everywhere, what are you doing? I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish this off in one sitting, maybe two. We'll see. I'm putting plastic sheets just behind to protect the page. Behind, yep, and I'm going to actually pop a little bit of a border. Now this is Loctite tape. I have a love-hate relationship with this thing. Sometimes it works really well and other times I used it last night or the night before on some watercolour paper and tried to pin a page down on my wooden board and it lifted completely, and other times it's been superb, so we'll see. We'll see, but I will use this as a little border as well, just a thin one. But I'm going to go back to my one of my old techniques for backgrounds, which is a completely wet on wet technique. And yeah, you'll see the progress now. In hindsight, I probably shouldn't be doing this because I can't use the heat gun because of the plastic sheet, so I'll probably have to be a little bit patient. Maybe finish this over 2 nights. I'm filming this in the evening time. That's why the lighting might be a little bit different. Just try and match it up as best as I can with the top. It doesn't have to be perfect. And with that leftover tape, let's just wrap it around the back, just like that, to keep the page completely pinned down. And I'll leave some extra as well at the bottom for doing the same thing. But I might still add, sometimes I like to keep the page flat to my table, but it just depends what effect that I'm going for now. I know that I'm going to miss some areas here. You can see some of these. I might be able to go over these with, I want to say a white acrylic, but if I use a white acrylic, this isn't white paper actually. My background there is white, it's like an off-white colour, so I might not be able to do that. So if the background's there, it's there. I could always go around with a little black border, or I could use some metallic watercolour, glitter watercolour, something like that, just to cover the border up. I'll just leave it white. I'll decide that as I go. So let's get this side sorted. Try and match it up as best as I can. I'm not going to worry too much. It's probably not going to be identical, but it'll do the trick. So the paints that I'm using are actually brand new to me paints. They are, let's take them out of the box, the Kuretake watercolour paints. These ones. And it's the 36 set that I got. And my mother-in-law kindly bought me these as a Christmas present, and she let me have them early because she knows what I'm like. I have just swatched them out. I haven't used them on a page yet, or even on watercolour paper. I did swatch them out on watercolour paper, and they do remind me of gouache because they go down so thick. I still do think you'd be able to get a light wash with these. You just have to pop some of the colour in a little palette like this and add plenty of water. And I think, you know, because I tried some different effects here with like watercolour blooms and it still does it. They just reminded me of gouache, and there is three metallic colours in this palette. So you get a lot of paint for your money, but I've got to be honest, I don't like the packaging. It's a good job that I've got the flat storage, otherwise I would have struggled putting these in my old setup. So that is lucky. Now, with this being Christmas themed, ice themed, frosty themed, I'll go with more or less all blues, maybe a touch of turquoise, maybe even a touch of purple. So if I look at my swatches here, my purple does start after the pink, which is here. So we've got a pink. I know that these all look really dark, but from here, that's that one actually. So you can see they do look different in the pan. Now, instead of me trying to explain what I'm going to do, I'm just going to do it and then you'll get the idea. Now, I probably should have changed that water before I started, but it'll do, because I've got really clean water here. So I've got like semi-clean and really clean water here. I've got two different containers. So what I want to do is completely saturate this page. You don't want puddles, that's not the aim. You don't want puddles. You just want to make sure that it's completely saturated, because that's what will create the really nice watercolour effects. So if I just lift up the book, because another little tip with using water straight away, you can't actually see sometimes where you've put the water and you're putting more on, and then you're causing the puddles, and that's what's giving you the issue. So if you lift your paper up and just move it in the light, you can still see where you're popping it. I'm going to do a couple of light layers just to make sure that I'm not missing any bits. And with it being tilted, if it does start forming like little puddles, it's all going to run to the bottom, and I can pick that up with the brush. So it's a sort of win-win. So this one is a Aquafine Dirt Doiler Roni Oval Brush, size 1. So it is a big one. But that does the trick. Let me just double check. There's one little area there that I've missed. So with it's one of my favourites, this one, the Princeton Neptune size 12 brush. I haven't activated any of these, but they really do not take long. So just looking back at my reference, my swatches rather, I think that might be the purple. Yeah, I'm going to test in there first, because I don't want to put a colour on the page that I'm not happy with. I think it's this one. Yes, it is this one. So while the paper is still really wet, pop it all at the top and start pulling the colour down. Now I don't mind if this gets on the actual illustration, because I'm going over the top with either a colour pencil or Inktense, so it doesn't really matter. But if you want to keep the white of the paper, make sure you're using some sort of like masking fluid. So now that that pigment's being left for a little bit longer, you can see how strong that it gets. So the longer that you leave it, I don't want that line at the top. So very quickly, while the paper is still wet, I'm going to go in with a different colour and start pulling that up. And let them sort of meet in the middle, and then they can merge together. I do want to deepen it up a little bit. I'm going to do this in layers, I think, especially since I've not done this way of painting in colouring books in a long time actually. If you look back on my videos, you'd probably see it was a good few months ago since I've done this. I think I actually definitely filmed the last time that I did. So I'm not even going to bother cleaning my brush off. I'm going with the first colour, start adding some darker areas. The paper is still wet as well. Need to wet my brush a little bit. It was saying absolutely not not going to work for you. And then we'll move on to the bottom colour. Now it definitely does go through a messy stage, this, before it starts looking really nice, and you've got to remember as well with watercolour it dries a lot lighter than what you put it on. So what I might be able to do with this page is take it downstairs with the heating on, it's warmer downstairs, and then see how long it takes, and then remove the plastic sheet and then dry the rest with the heat gun, and then I might be able to carry on filming, maybe. So back in with the darker one. We do need more pigment, so let's add some water. That's more like it. So let's completely remove the beak up now and let it start merging down a little bit. You might actually hear the heating going on, because my daughter's room was the old garage. It's very cold in her room, very cold. So yeah, we keep downstairs heated for her. And in with the lighter colour. Now I'll do it the opposite way around now. Let's hold it this way. This might be a little bit difficult. Let's hold it this way. Too much water. But it'll still move and do what I want it to. And while I'm doing this, let's get a different shade. I'll get a bit of turquoise activating while we just do this part. I'm going to switch over now to a, what size shall I go with? Let's go with the size 4. Pick up some of that turquoise shade, but that one is number 62. Really nice, this one. I think it complements the blue that's already down really nicely. I don't think I'm going to mess with the top area again. Quite happy with that. I thought about adding a touch of black, but I think that's enough. Tiny bit more here. Really lift it up now, let it move. Should have called this the painting upside down challenge. Right, so I'll leave the very centre dry. So that's what I'll do. I'll get this as dry as I possibly can. Then use the heat gun and then come back. But before I do, just want to add some clean water. Just to make, the top might not work out as well because it's not as wet, but the bottom will. It'll create that, some nice watercolour blooms. Some nice effects. So for you, it'll be just a second. For me, it'll probably be about an hour. So I will see you soon. So it's completely dry now. I've used the heat gun in the end. And the watercolour blooms worked out beautifully at the top. They actually turned out better at the top than they did at the bottom. Now because I used the heat gun as well, it has warped the page a little bit. Not to worry, as soon as you close the book, give it a couple of days, it'll be back to normal. Now I did say either ink tents or colour pencils, but while I was looking through all my pencils, I noticed my Albert Duras, and I've not used them in a while, so I'm going to use these. and I don't know why I don't use these. They're such beautiful watercolour pencils. I think, if I remember rightly, they were my favourite for the longest of time, and it looks like they've hardly been used, but I promise you I've used them loads. It just takes so long for you to go through these, and I've not got backups of them. I think there's one colour, so if I'm ever in Hobbycraft and I see some of these, or there's another art store in Manchester that sell these, I need a green gold, surprise surprise. The green gold polychromos as well is my favourite out of that set of pencils. I've got one the wrong way around. I'm not really like bothered about any of the things like that really bother me, but the pencils have to be in colour order and I have to be able to see the names. Anybody else like that? So instead of using normal watercolour brushes, because I'm using watercolour pencils, I like to use aqua brushes. So I've got a range of different ones to try. What I might actually do is, I've got one hander just to pin down the page a little bit. See if I can get it on that corner and just stretch it out as much as I can, just that very top corner. If I have two on, then that's probably going to be in the way. So I'm going to stick to similar tones, the blues, navies, turquoise, that sort of thing. So we've got a really nice array of colours here. I mean, even the purples you'd get away with using. I need to redo my swatch chart for these. I don't know if, I said ages and ages ago I need to redo my swatch chart, but in hindsight this took me months and months to complete, so can I be really bothered doing all that again? Probably not. So let's just find these. There's the Chroma Flow or Hoo markers, there's ink tints, there's the Albert Dürer, all these, this one, and this one. So we ideally want to stick to this section, so that there is a perfect navy colour, 157, and this is why I like to keep them in number order and name order, and it just makes it easier pulling them out and you're not searching around and you know where things are. Let's give that a nice sharpen. Now before I pick an area to colour, if it's going to be a medium area I need a medium size brush, that's got the wrong lid on. If it's going to be a small area I want a small brush. Both loaded with water, so that's fine. I've got my cloth ready, I've got my clean water, spare brushes are there. So where shall we go with this? I'm thinking maybe the icicles should be really light and then go around with them with a gel pen maybe. So let's start with the stars first, I think. Yeah, we'll start with this one. Now instead of colouring the whole thing, leave that the very centre bit clear of any colour, even that bit there. There might be a tad actually, a tiny little bit there maybe. But these pencils blend out so beautifully once you add water. But let's see, once I finish using these, will I like these better than the ink tints? So for that size, let's go with the medium. I mean, you could do this with paints, really, watercolour paint. You don't have to use pencils, but I do think you can get more of a into the little tiny areas. You can be more precise with pencils. So you're starting off in the lighter area, and then once you've started activating it, you can let it sort of pool into the lighter shade. So when it's giving it that nice blended look, just like that. And it's really easy to do, really easy. I don't feel a need to go in and faff with 1,000,001 colours. So I'm not doing all the stars the same, so we will change it up. Like maybe do these stars. Leave the centre at its brightest. I think I'm going to do a light effect as well. I really enjoy doing light effects. And I think now that I've painted the background in, the light effect will show up really, really nicely. So I'll show you how I'm going to do that. I don't want to change the colours up too much. That's all I'm thinking. Let's put some of this here. I didn't even tell you the name, did I? Dark Indigo. Start activating that. Well, when I feel like I'm having too much pigment on the brush, I'm just dabbing it on here, just to try and keep them light areas as light as possible, because I don't want to go over. You know, if I tried to add a lighter blue, it just wouldn't work the same as doing it like that. So this bigger star, I'll do it the opposite way around. I'll stick with the smaller brush just to be safe. For some reason though, I don't like using watercolour brushes with these. It's the same with the Inktense. I don't know why. They just seem different. They don't work. The brushes don't work as well. It's probably just in my head. I'll switch over to a different colour now. I've got my eye on this turquoise, which is blush turquoise. Really, really nice colour, this one. And I want this one to be this big star at the top. You can hear the crinkle in the paper. You know what though, the paper in this is really, really good. I've had other boots that it's really, you know, you have to wait them few days for it to flatten back out before you can even colour in it. So yeah, this book handles watercolour or any sort of water mediums pretty well, considering it's not watercolour paper anyway. But if you wanted to be really safe, use a watercolour ground or gesso the page. It depends on the paper, I suppose. So now this is a bigger star. I use a bigger brush. Now I didn't mention the yellow one is a Kuretake water brush, and this one's a Kuretake one as well actually. So we're all about Kuretake. That's what we use the paints. How nice is that one? I definitely prefer that one over the dark indigo one. So we'll do this one this way around. Try my best. I'm better off switching to the smaller one, aren't I? Keeping the top parts, so the very, very tips, the lightest. Just like that. I think what we're going to do actually is some of these crystals in this colour. We'll not do them just one blue colour, we'll change the blues up, maybe add a couple of purples to them crystals. Just trying to make it as random as possible. You see how quickly they just melt as soon as the water. I totally and utterly remember now the reason that I loved these so much. So you might see these a little bit more coming up on videos. So I hope that you like watercolours, watercolour pencils. It's all going on tonight. I can hear fireworks, I can hear dogs barking. Oops, we have a roll her. Talk of the devil. So where else should I add a bit of that blue? maybe this icicle here. I'll leave the very tips the brightest. Just like that. And do the exact same thing. Seriously, how pretty is that colour? Now, these pearls, I wouldn't mind them being actual pearl colour, but because I have already done the background, I don't think the cream is going to show up as well. So I'm going to have to take a rain check on that one, or if I can think of any other ideas between now and when I come to doing them. I can always do them like a really nice iridescent watercolour and then pop a little bit of acrylic paint over the top, you know, where the highlights are there. That's an option. Do a few of these stars. It's the laser way of doing it. Still gives a cool effect. It's the pencils. The pencils doing the work. Now I need to make my mind up as well about the icicles. The icicles, I want all of them to be one colour. I'm not changing them up. So we'll do this little star actually. And I'll pick the icicle colour out. I think I've got an idea. I'm thinking, I don't know if it's going to show up, or the light ultramarine. Let's just do a little test, because I did use quite hard pressure then with that. I mean, it's showing up, but not as well as I would have wanted it. What about just cobalt blue, light cobalt, phantom blue, light phantom blue, is that how you pronounce that? 145. Let's test on this one instead. Using quite hard pressure as well though. Let me see what I think about that. See, I'm not pleased with that one either. I'm going to have to lean more towards the either turquoise or the purples. I'm leaning more towards the turquoise, actually greens. How can I bounce around so much? 155. That is a darker version of what I've just been using. Just let me check this one. Hello turquoise. Let's test it here. I think this one might be our winner. Yep. So that one's showing up beautifully. I'll have to let that dry now before I mess around with that. So I'm going to have to do this the opposite way around. Although, I did leave my heat gun out. That'll do. Give this a little sharpen. Yeah, so that does show up a little bit better. So I'm just going to block colour these in because I might end up deepening up here with the black maybe, or maybe a grey. Might as well do them all at once, and then I can look at the picture and see where else, because my mind is thinking if I want to do that light effect here, this is better to be darker and these are better to be darker to make the light effect really pop. So maybe I could get away with using this, maybe it's whatever's in the potion has created these icicles. Let's get these activated. It's funny because this here is actually an old candle and I used it all up and cleaned it out, and I plan on doing that with nearly all of them. Then I can have these waters that I don't have to keep changing them, and then I've just changed loads of them all at once, opposed to keep going to the bathroom and changing them every couple of hours. I think that's the definition of being lazy, that, isn't it? But to be fair, at night time I don't want the floors creaking and my daughter waking up, so that's my excuse. That was a good choice, that one. I'm happy with that. Fireworks again. I don't know if the camera will pick that up. I hate fireworks because I feel sorry for animals. I think I do want to do that, but instead of going in with a really dark colour like I have done at the bottom now with the icicles, maybe just try and be a little bit lighter handed and see what colour I can get. I'll put one or two in the crystal as well. I can't help myself. I think this is such a nice colour. So because I've not filmed for a little while, I forget the little quirky things that my camera does. When it gets to 20 minutes it likes to restart, and I forgot, and it made me jump out my skin then. It made a funny noise. You might have seen my hand shake. It made me jump. So let's activate that now. I want my big brush for this one. Take off any excess. Now I do want to be fairly quick because I don't want patches. But before it dries, I'm going to try and put a little bit of water just like this. Now I don't know how it's going to react with it being pencils. It might not do anything, especially with, you know, only putting that white layer in as well. Let's just see. If you don't try, we won't know. Use a smaller brush for the splashes. I'm going to have to be a little bit more careful because I don't want it going on the background. So instead of it just dabbing on, like I just did then, perfectly it went in the right place. Just dabbing it on. I really don't think that's going to do much. Oh! I can see a slight change. It didn't work as well as I wanted it to, but it still did have a fashion. Let's add some into the crystal. Let's steer away from that while it's still really wet. Just stick with them little areas for now. Just like that. So do I want this anywhere else? I don't think I do. And I'm going to have to let this area completely dry before I add any more shading as well, I think. So I'm liking the look of, excuse me, Halo Blue Reddish. Yeah, Halo Blue Reddish. I have to double check that then. And I'm going to do the candle in this colour actually. I want to block colour the whole of the candle and then add shadows, because I'm going to go over the top to add the highlights from the candle, which will be yellowy orange shades. I mean, they don't have to be, but I'll try and stick to a realistic-ish colour for the flames. And plus I think yellow and orange go really nicely with the blues. So I do think it'll complement it really nicely. Let's do the wick as well. And then a couple more stars. Moving around and seeing what this icicle I think, but it's very, very similar to that colour. So let's go in with a different one now. Let's try Cobalt Blue Greenish. Let's try that one. Again, I'm just trying to make these as random as I can. I don't want them to, you know, be identical. Oh, I like this one. Maybe to this little guy as well here. I'm going to leave a couple of them clear, especially the smaller ones. I'm going to pull out some metallic watercolour in a minute and fill them in. I'm hoping to get all like the base layers done, and I'm probably going to have to do a part 2, so I hope that you don't mind. otherwise it'll be a super duper long video, and it's currently nearly 10:30, which means I need to go to bed soon because I don't stay up late anymore. So let me pull out a couple of different palettes. I've got the Renaissance Countdown to Christmas from last year. There's one nice blue that's a nice turquoise that we could use. There is the AliExpress one now. When I did a video on this, it was still available, and I can't find it now, this identical palette. But in saying that, if you just type in on AliExpress metallic or glitter watercolours, there's so many that pop up. So maybe it'd be worth checking on there. And then, oh, that's my ink tints. Where is my, is it this one? Shame on me for not keeping them organised. That one there is Renaissance colour, and it's absolutely stunning. It's a million times better than the AliExpress one. And that one is KJ Designs by Karen. So I'm thinking actually I'm just going to stick with this palette because I know I really like them two colours. And I might come back into this one later because this white iridescent colour is, oh, it's to die for. You can tell how much I like it with how much I've used it. They are really nice, these paints though, especially for the price. But considering that you can't get all of these specific ones, I won't use them for now. So, need some water. And while these are activating, I'll colour a couple of other bits while we wait. So we'll go with this one and this one. Just double checking. I like the colour of that, but it's got more of a gold undertone, which isn't going to go with what I want. And we'll just stick with them two colours for now. And just play it safe. Right. Let's colour this guy in here. Even though it is a lot quicker using watercolour, the painting it in or colouring it in and then having to activate and having to wait for it to dry, that's what adds the time to it. So when I think, well, it'll just be a quick video, I don't think this one is going to be. So I hope that you had a cup of tea and a snack. It's like a really, really royal blue, this one. It's why I love pulling out like my old supplies and my old boots that I've not used in a little while. So I can't use aqua brushes with these. Again, it's the opposite way around. I'm going to use a really, really tiny and chuck my big paintbrush on the floor. That's going to wipe my carpet. Can I reach it? Yep, I can. Really, really tiny brush, and this is a knot. I'm just using this because I can get into the really teeny tiny areas. We will go in with the KJ Designs by Karen one first. Now let me see if the camera will pick up the swirly goodness. Really, really beautiful. Carefully lay that down. So let's work furthest away. Now some of the page is still wet here, so I'm going to have to be careful. I almost coloured that circle in then, but I want them to be white acrylic paints. I've already decided that. I want all of these dots to be pretty bright on the page. Even though it's a tiny brush, it holds a heck of a lot of water. So we'll do this one. So before I make a mess, switch to the Renaissance one and try and show you. This one, once it's activated, this one's almost got like really fine, is it mica or glitter? Again, another beautiful shade. Now this is fully loaded, so I'm going to have to be careful. They might look very close in the pan, but when you start using them, you notice that they are different. A little bit messy with that one. Do this big one here. Very pretty. Right, so I think the plan now is, you see me do the base colours, I'm going to be filling out the rest in blues, turquoise, greens, that sort of thing. Possibly use some different blues, I'm not sure, I might use the rest of these. But so I'm not making part 2 a really long video as well. I will do like the base layer, I mean there's only a couple of bits and bobs to do off camera, and then come back to do more of the shading to show you how I'm going to shade over the top. I might still stick with these pencils because the shading with these is really easy to do, or I might switch it up and use an actual colour pencil and then do the light effect as well, and then add all the little details to finish off the page. So I will take this off, I'm not leaving it on overnight because it will leave an indent in my colouring book, so I'm not going to do that. I've learnt my lesson, I've done that before and I will not do it again. So yeah, that's as far as we've got. I'm hoping that the video is probably about 40 minutes long. We'll see, we shall see. But it's definitely not necessarily Christmassy vibe, but I'm just getting this really cold spike that we're getting, this really cold weather. That's what inspired me to pick this page and pick all of these different colours out. So part 2 to this video will be up in a day or 2 from me uploading this one. So please do leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in part 2. Bye.